Got the two halves cleaned with Scotch Brite pad and some WD-40. Replaced that seal, this seal. Thinking I'm gonna slide the shaft through just to make sure everything works properly, and then I'm gonna put some RTV, the black RTV around the case, and then put the cases together. So just checking everything. I mean, it's pretty simple. I don't think you'll have a problem putting this back, and if you do, just let me know. But cleaned all the junk that was inside, oiled everything, all the bearings, and then cleaned all of the dirt that was there. I'm fixing to oil it out, just letting it dry. I also taped this so it doesn't nick my knee bushing. I'm gonna be using some stuff that's made, or I usually use the RTV, the black or the gray, but this time I got this stuff that's made by the same company, Permatex, and it's called the right stuff. I got a gray. I think that's what's OEM on this on the case from factory. So it's what I'm gonna be using. It dries really quick. You don't have to wait for it to cure like the other stuff. I think the other stuff you have to wait an hour, and then you torque it down, and then you have to wait 24 hours before you can start putting any fluids back in the engine or whatever it is you're rebuilding. So this is pretty fast. The only bad thing to this is that you have to hurry. So I think you have like 5 minutes to get everything torqued down, but this shouldn't be a problem. Per the manual, I think it only wants you to put it on here, pretty much the surrounding area, to there and then there. They don't want you to put it there, or at least that's what the book said. I downloaded it and printed it just to make sure. You know, you would think you would put it here and here too, but I guess they don't want you to plug these things up. And as much as I want to, I don't think I am. I just don't want to mess something up and then put it, you know, risk taking it apart and putting it back together. So what it says here is to apply liquid gasket to A. This is A. And this section here doesn't have anything. Neither does this little groove right there. Right there. So it's kind of hard to tell from the book, but I'm gonna try to follow it as best as I can and get it done. Got the case put back together. Make sure you grease everything, and I have it taped here with electrical tape so it doesn't damage the new bushing. You have to bang it a little bit to get it to go in. Kind of fights you a little bit, but it's not too bad. Seems like everything is squeezing out nicely. Should be drying here shortly. So I'm gonna be putting the for the shifter, this little ball in first. I'm gonna put some oil, and it goes right here, and then the little spring, the washer, and then the actual bolt. Whenever you torque these down, it's actually pretty simple. This is the one thing that I like about the Kawasaki, is that they have everything numbered. So 1, and then 2's up here, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 and 8's on the other side. You have to torque them down per the book. I believe it is, let's see if we can find it. So it's 20 Newton meters or 15 foot-pounds of torque, and 1 through 6, then 3 through 8. So it went pretty easy, and then once you get that done, then you do the little ones that are around the casing, which are here. And I believe those are set at 9.8 Newton meters. So progress is being made. I'm gonna go ahead and start with the gasket. I believe it only goes in one way, and I like to put a little bit of the high temp RTV in the two halves. That way, if it's uneven, it makes a good seal. Got the head in. Now for the top gasket. Make sure you have everything clean, and then also make sure you have this little guy here. That's what pumps oil to your crankshaft. So I'm gonna clean the other half, put it on, and torque it down, and move on to the next step. So here's the groove. It goes on F, goes on that little groove. Make sure it's seated in there properly. Alright guys, I got the head put on there. I still haven't bolted it down. You have some screws that you have to put on first, so I'm gonna go ahead and put all those screws. Make sure you oil the washers. You have 4, and then you oil the threads on the bolts before you start torquing it down. Also, don't forget to put the 8mm bolt to go on the side. Got the rear timing chain installed. The cam's just sitting there. But first, the first thing you have to do to get this done is this little key ring spot here has to align with that arrow there. Once you get that done, then you grab your cam with the chain, slide it through, making sure that it's lined up and the arrow's pointing up. You grab this gear here, you put the chain in the back, and you make sure that this little dot is aligned with that little arrow back there. Once you kind of get it aligned, then you slide this chain, and it goes in the back teeth of the camshaft. And you have to hold on to all this while you slide this shaft through the back. Just right there. So once you slide it in, it only goes in one way. You make sure you install this little clip here. If you don't install that clip, you're gonna have some problems later on. So make sure you put that little clip on. And next step to do is to turn it. Again, going this way. You turn it to where this lines up with that line, and then you check your timing in the back. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that, and I'll show you what it looks like from the other side. Okay, so I have the front cylinder timed now. This little key ring lines up with that line there. If you turn it over, you double check that mark to line up with that arrow. So now I do the same thing that I did with the rear cylinder. You install the cam with the cam chain through here and put it on. Finish installing the front timing chain. The easiest thing that I found for this one is to go ahead and slide the chain without the cam first, put it on here, and then put the cam and then the chain on the cam. If you do it the other way, it's going to be a little bit harder. Next step is to get this tensioner, and you push in this like how I have it here, and you put a piece of wire in it to hold it, and you install it. Once you install it, you remove that wire and it creates tension on the chain. So when you put the oil pump in, make sure you put these screws by hand just to make sure you don't mess something up. Then once you get it in nice and snug, then you can tighten it up to the torque spec. And then the same thing for this one. It's pretty easy. You just pretty much make sure that the spring and the little pin is in there with it has like a rubber oil ring. Make sure you oil that up and then just install it and tighten it up. So my next step is to install the rocker cover, so I can install the chain tensioners that go in the side of the cylinder. And then once I get that done, then I'll probably put this cover along with the flywheel. I'm gonna put some gray RTV around here. I already cleaned everything up. You just put it around here, all the way around, and on that little. Got the front cylinder done. Now I'm gonna go to the rear, but to do that I have to put it on top dead center. So I'm gonna have to put the flywheel. So first install this, gear in. Make sure you oil it up too. Put the little key with oil. And then you line up the key to that groove. Finally got the engine completely done. I changed all the seals, tightened everything to the torque specified by the manual. I didn't film installing the flywheel and the cover because I couldn't film it and do it at the same time, but it's pretty straightforward. The hardest thing is putting the flywheel because it wants to stick to the stator and stuff. So you kind of have to give it a gentle tap with the rubber hammer here to kind of lock it in place a little bit, and then put it in. And you put this in first, then you put the impeller for the cooling system, and then you tighten all the bolts down, and then finally install this bolt here. I changed that oil seal as well. But before you get to all that, make sure that you check the clearances on the valves, since the last one was the rear or the front. I don't remember which one, but either way, just check the clearances for the rear and then the front. And otherwise the caps really don't go in. So check that and install the new oil seals, and you should be good to go. So now what I'm gonna get ready to do is put it in the four-wheeler. I got new spark plugs for it, new oil filter, new air filter. I'm gonna put the old one on just so I can transport it to the four-wheeler, and in case it gets damaged or anything, I damaged the old one, not the new one. I got the oil. It uses 1040. I'm using this cheap stuff first. This is what they recommended on the forums that I found, just the conventional oil. I just got the cheap stuff for now. They don't recommend using the synthetic, maybe a synthetic blend, but the conventional is what they recommended. So I'm gonna go ahead and prep the four-wheeler for it, clean all this junk so I can have easier access to install the engine and install the clutch. Got the engine in. pretty straightforward. I have the battery temporarily there, just so I can crank it. I checked everything, I put some fluids in it. Doesn't seem to be leaking. I have new oil filter, new oil. Got the exhaust on. Just trying to double check everything, make sure I got it all put back together before I crank it. Let's give it a try. Cycle it a couple times to get fuel in the throttle body. Sweet. It runs. See if it goes in here. Feels like it does.